Good evening, Friday Night Livers, and we're back. Episode 34. Episode 34. The time is moving on. It's great, and we're getting closer and closer to Christmas. Welcome to the Christmas season, and we're getting deep into December now. Tonight, we are going to go stateside, mainly with a little twist of Tipperary as well, so it's going to be fun. We're going to go to talk to Boy Blue, which is basically Lisa Blue and Sean O'Connor, a bi-coastal duo. Really cool band, and you're going to hear some of them in a few moments. And then we're going to head from there back to Ireland, to Tipperary, down to Carrick-on-Suir. We're going to talk to Kate MacDonald, who got in touch with me a couple of weeks ago and sent me in a song that you are going to love tonight. You have to watch this. You have to watch the video, but listen to the song, Freedom in the Flowers. Beautiful, beautiful song. And then we're going to finish off a Poetry Corner. As usual, we're heading back to Indianapolis, where we're going to talk to Martina Mcgowan, who is our Poetry Corner, our poet this evening. And I'm really looking forward to that. She's also an activist and an author and all those things. And she's got a new poetry collection out as well. So there's loads of good stuff on Friday Night Live tonight. Before we get into all that, I'm Dave Morrissey, your host as usual, in the deep southwest of Ireland. This is Limerick, and we're going to you live globally, Friday Night Live. And I just wanted to say before we start, you see the little PayPal link going across the bottom of the screen. It's just for small donations to the show. If anybody wants to support the show for the equipment and the upkeep and the backdrops and all that stuff that you see here, it's much appreciated. And I really want to send out a big thank you to everybody who has helped the show so far. It means a lot. When something breaks down here, it means so much to have a couple of shekels in the bin, and it's great. So if you can, be wonderful. Anyway, moving on. Here we are, episode 34. Just to give you a quick heads up as well, I announced yesterday that New Year's Eve, and it's important, I want to just say it again tonight, there is a double Friday Night Live coming up on New Year's Eve. It's starting at 6 p.m. There's a show coming on that's very, very special, and I can't say too much about it yet. I will be putting posts up about it very, very soon, but let's just say it's going to be something totally different for Friday Night Live, something that you will love. Absolutely love. And then we're going to move on to our usual slot at 10 p.m. And at 10 p.m. we're going to go right through midnight and count in the new year with some amazing guests. So it's going to be great crack. Who knows how long we'll go on New Year's Eve. It could go on into the wee hours. But anyway, moving on. Let's get straight into it. This is my first guest tonight is a band called Boy Blue, and I want to play you their version of Bad Moon Rising, which they've just dropped on YouTube, the Creedence Clearwater Revival song that we all know and love. But wait until you hear what they've done with this. It is just amazing, absolutely amazing. And the video, I have to say kudos to Lisa for the video as well. So here we go, without further ado, Boy Blue, Bad Moon Rising on Friday Night Live.
There's a bad moon on the rise. I said, don't go out tonight. It's bound to take your life. And there's a bad moon on the rise. Don't go round. Don't go round. I said, don't go round. Don't go round. Don't go round. Not tonight.
Hey, Dave, I don't know if you can hear us, but we can't hear you. So,
Can you hear me now? Can you hear
yes,
me?
now we can hear you.
I
Awesome.
do apologize about that. Sorry about that. Sometimes the internet does funny things. Welcome to the show, Lisa and Brian. How are you keeping? Sean, I should say. Sorry.
Brian isn't here.
He's not here.
Brian.
How are things? How are things with you?
Things are good. Things are good, Dave. How's everything with you?
All good. That is some take. That is some take on a great song. I have to say, it is absolutely fantastic.
The master here.
Sean, the master, your guitar playing, my friend, is something else. You know that we love and respect you here in Ireland. You know that. I don't have to tell you that. Well, it's true. And apologies for the name change. Do you know what I was thinking of there was actually, I was thinking of Brian Robertson. I was thinking of Brian Robertson. That's who was in my head. Because I've been Lizzie going around and around my head tonight. And speaking of which, I wanted to ask you about that getting started. Because your connections with Thin Lizzy, could you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with the band?
Well, the initial way that I got involved was I was very friendly with Eric Bell, which would have been long after he was gone from Thin Lizzy, you know.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years later, we got signed, and somebody gave one of our tapes to Philip.
Yeah.
And we were basically invited to do the tour support. And then during the tour, Philip asked me to get up and play a couple of songs with Lizzy.
Yeah.
When he asked me first, I actually thought he was joking. I thought he was winding me up, you know.
Yeah.
Because we became very good friends. I used to travel with Philip to all the gigs.
Brilliant.
But as I say, I got up and I said to him, "What do you want me to play?" He said, "I want you to do the encores." And I said, "Well, what songs are you going to play?" And he said, "I'm going to do The Rocker and Whiskey in the Jar." And he said, "But I want you to do them the way Eric did them, you know."
Right.
So I said, "Okay, no problem." And I was still skeptical as to whether it was going to happen. And the next thing, the Lizzy crew are taking my gear and putting it out on stage. And then it kind of became a regular thing that I'd get up and play with them occasionally, you know.
Brilliant. What an accolade. What an absolute accolade, Sean, to get up there and jam out with Philo, like of all people. I was speaking with Lisa during the sound check. Just I was lucky enough to play at the Vibes, some of them, and that's a far cry from playing the real deal with the real man. But it was just such an honor to be involved in any way, shape, or form with Thin Lizzy when it comes to us Irish people.
Yeah, I mean, like, myself and Philip, as I say, we developed a friendship pretty much instantly,
Yeah,
and like on that particular initial tour, which was the Chinatown Tour,
yeah,
there was 34 dates. So like for 34 days, we were literally living with each other, as in like we're spending 4 hours probably traveling per day
yeah,
by car. So we talked about anything and everything, obviously music being, the main thing,
yeah,
the main subject
yeah.
of conversation in the car.
Yeah, I tell you what I would not give to have been a fly on the wall for them road trips. I'd say that was good crack. I'd say the conversations will be something you'll never, ever, ever forget.
No, absolutely, and like Philip and I shared a kind of a similar sense of humor. So we'd laugh at certain things and that other people wouldn't necessarily get,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
it was a lot of fun. Like
yeah.
I've nothing but good memories of Philip. But unfortunately, my last memory of him was I played his last gig alive with him in
Did you?
1985. I got a phone call asking me would I go out to Marbella. It
Yeah,
was like it wasn't Thin Lizzy, it was just Philip.
yeah,
And he said that he told the guy who ran the club out there, it's a big, very, very big disco kind of place, but it held close to 2,000 people.
wow,
And Philip said that he'd do the gig if they could organise either Gary Moore or me to play guitar. And
wow.
when the guy called me up, I said to him, and what's the problem with Gary Moore? And he said, actually, Gary's in the studio doing an album at the moment. He can't take the time off,
Yeah,
So I said, okay, I'll go over and do it, And then the next time I heard from Philip was in the September of like he died in January.
1985.
September of
Yeah, 1985.
the previous year to him dying.
Yeah, wow.
And I met him in London and he was talking to me about getting Thin Lizzy back again. And he told me that I'd already spoke to Scott about it. And that Scott was kind of up for it, although skeptical, because of the way Philip was at the time. I
Yeah,
won't go into all of that part
I
of it,
know. Yeah, yeah,
But he asked me to meet him down in a little bar in Soho near Good Earth Studios, which is owned by Tony Visconti.
yeah,
And I said to him, I know where the studio is. Do you want me to go in there? He said, no, he said, there's too many people in here. He said, I don't want them to hear this conversation,
yeah,
I
yeah.
said, no problem. So he arranged to meet me in a little restaurant place down beside it. And I went down and he talked to me about reforming Thin Lizzy, and myself and Scott were going to be the guitar players, and Brian Downey was going to be the drummer, and he was going to do away with the keyboards, as in he had gotten Darren in, and oddly enough, the first tour we did was the Chinatown Tour, and that was the first time that Darren actually played live with Lizzy as well.
Wow.
But it wasn't because of his playing. He just said, I want to get back to kind of a bit more rootsy sort of Thin Lizzy.
Back to the
And
early
felt
days.
like some of the songs that I had written, so he was going to include those in kind of the new material as such,
Yeah, wow. When you look back on it now, like, wouldn't that have been something else? Really,
Yeah,
something,
I mean, it would have been a great thing, but I mean, I was just grateful to have gotten to know him so closely and to like go out to his house and hang out, and we'd go into town together. And he had a little routine where when we went into town, he'd stop in the Bailey always and
Yeah.
have 1 pint of Guinness. That was it. He wasn't much of a drinker ever that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Like I never saw him drinking very much at all.
Yeah. Wow. Great times, Sean. Like absolutely great times. And I know like the lookalikes as well, another great iconic Irish band that we all know and stuff. You've really cut the chops before you and Lisa met up. Like you've got a lot of a big history in music. By the way, I have to ask you this, okay? Wendy is here. She was commenting. She asked me earlier on. Do you remember your time in Straffan with the Foresters?
In Straffan at where?
With the Forrester family.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, I do. I did.
They're big fans, of course.
I think officially their address would be Barberstown.
That's right.
Because it was literally down the street from Barberstown Castle.
Yeah.
And it was on the Maynooth Road. But like I spent a lot of time in Selbridge because I had a drummer in the band, as in the lookalikes. After the initial lookalikes broke up, the drummer in the band was from Selbridge. And we had 2 road crew, 2 brothers, and they were the 2 Forster boys.
That's right. That's why I had to ask you. I just had to ask. John and Noel. Yeah, I know them well myself, and she said to me, "Would you please say hello to Sean from the Forrester family?" But listen, we better get into, as Dennis is saying to me here, what about Boy Blue? So we better talk about Boy Blue, or I'll be murdered. Lisa.
Yes.
I want to ask you as well, just before we do get into it, because it's really important. Leading up to Boy Blue, because I'm familiar, you and I are good friends online and stuff like that. And your page, your group on Facebook has been so generous to me and thousands of other musicians. You always share anything. If we send something to you, there's no question, it gets shared.
Right.
That's it. It always gets done. Give us a little background of your sort of career before you two guys met up. What were you doing before yourself and Sean met up?
Well, I've always been in the music business in one capacity or another, but mostly I was a drummer in the bands. Whatever band I was playing with, I was drummer, percussionist, backup singer, that sort of thing. And then a couple of years ago, I decided to, all right, I'm going to go solo. I want to write some music. So I started teaching myself guitar. In the process of doing all that, I've had several different music radio shows since back in 2003. First starting out with, it was all revolved around Prince music. It's kind of how it started.
Cool.
And then so my brother-in-law, Dave Barco, I don't know if you know the Diddley Idols. I started, hanging with them a little bit more and playing their stuff and sharing their stuff. And then he got married to Louise Barry, Jim Barry's daughter. And he had a wedding here in New York, and then one in Dublin. So I went to both.
Okay.
And at the one in Dublin, I met so many musicians from that. So I decided to do an Irish-Scottish show. And that's how that started. I think that started back in 2017.
That's right, which we're well familiar with. I love that show. That show.
So thank you. So that I did that, focused on that for a while, and that's how I met Sean initially, because I wanted to bring him on the show, interview him, and play his music. And what was funny is he didn't know that I was Dave Barco's sister-in-law at the time. I didn't know him and Dave were very good friends for 25 years or whatever the case was. So it was kind of funny because I was living in New York back in the early 90s, the same time Sean was there, and we just kept, crossing paths. Like we had so many people in common, but I guess it took, until last year for us to finally connect. So then I decided, since I'm solo, I reached out to Sean about playing guitar, and maybe producing, and then we just went from there.
So when you reached out and you guys decided, right, we're going to do something here, and this is the duo. This is going to be Boy Blue, which is a great name, by the way. I love it.
Thank you.
Was it kind of over the internet as such? Like, was it kind of remote recording at the beginning? Was that where you kind of got going?
Yeah, I mean, I had gone back and forth a couple of times before the pandemic. The last time was in February for the Memories show that they did in February, and then it was like right before the pandemic started. So Sean and I, we didn't get to meet up and record after that because of the pandemic. So we figured out a way to do it remotely,
Yeah.
And it started out where he was going to produce, I was doing a cover song just to get something going, and he was going to produce it and play guitar on it. And then we were just like, hey, you want to form a band? And, the name Boy Blue is actually his, that he was looking at for a record label. And then I thought, well, that would be kind of perfect for us, being a duo.
That's good. I love it. I love
so
it.
it just kind of worked out.
Yeah. So when you got together and got the recording started, so Misty Blue was the debut single, and that, what way did you release that? What was it? Just on the social platforms like Spotify and iTunes and the usual?
Yeah, the Boy Blue version. Yeah, I had the original version of Misty Blue for a couple of years. It was just acoustic, basically music and me singing, and I was telling you, for a school project. So when we recorded it, we released it as an official record out on all the streaming platforms, and did a video and the whole 9 yards, and people really took to it. And that's when we said, okay, let's keep going with this.
I took back to looking at a lot of your videos actually this week, and they're really cool. And I know you do the visuals, you do the lyric videos, and you do them very, very well. And I started looking back over some of them, and they're really, really they go with the music so well. They really send the message home. Do you guys have plans to move forward with more original music as well, or do you think you might do some more kind of cool covers as well? Because I know you've done some great slants on cover versions.
No, actually the covers it was just easier to do because we couldn't get into the studio. So it was kind of easier to do covers that already existed, and Sean recorded everything in his house. I recorded everything in mine, and then we just sent it, had it mastered and mixed and mastered. And it was all remotely. So we decided to call that series what did we say, Cover Story. And we're gonna give it away with our CD as an EP, like when people order the physical CD next year.
Brilliant.
So, but from this, Bad Moon was the last one of that for now. So we have several originals that we're gonna be working on while Sean's here in Florida with me. We're definitely gonna be doing a few songs. So.
Yeah, I meant to ask Sean, how did you find the trip over? Was it tough to get from here over? Were there many restrictions? Or
this particular trip was a long one because I had to go through London.
Right.
Aside from, I having lived in New York and gone back and forth to Ireland so many times, I was kind of used to the long flights. And then I played. After I moved back to Ireland, I played in places like Egypt and Dubai and Oman and different countries like that. So flying and all that sort of stuff never really bothered me. Although this particular trip was a very long one for the way here, just because of the fact that there was nothing else available.
Right.
On my way home, I don't have to go through London, thank God. I'm nothing against English people, but I hate Heathrow with the press.
Me too. Yeah, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. You got to run from one end of the airport to the other to connect.
Yeah, exactly. For example, when I got off the plane, initially in Heathrow, I had a 45-minute bus ride to another terminal to get the next flight.
That's nuts.
So it was I needed all the time that I had in between the flights. To actually get from one part of the airport to the other.
While you're there now, are you guys going to knuckle down there in the studio and record some stuff together? Because this is a golden opportunity, especially when you're, as you say, Lisa, like a bi-coastal band that's remote. This is the chance. Have you guys got plans now to really get stuck into something? What's going to happen while you're in literally person together?
Well, I brought over some of my stuff that I use recording. Not to mention guitars and stuff like that. The actual bits and pieces that I use. And we've organized pretty much like any studio would. We've organized computers with Pro Tools and stuff like that on it. So the whole, I won't say the whole purpose of the visit, but the main focus of the visit is that while we're actually together to actually get as much recorded as possible.
Yeah.
Even if it's not necessarily the finished product, at least we will have some songs finished. There's no doubt about that. But I'll be taking home stuff that I'll be able to work on
When you get back.
back in my own studio.
Yeah.
Which we'll have worked on here. Like we'll have put down the foundations for it here.
Yeah.
Because doing overdubs and stuff like that is almost the easy part, you know.
Yeah, it is.
Getting decent backing tracks down and good drums and stuff like that, you know. Lisa takes care of the drumming side of things, and I take care of the guitars and bass and a little bit of keyboards here and there. Not that, like, we're not a keyboard type of band, so any keyboards would be kind of either atmospheric or minimalistic, whichever way you want to take it. You know?
Well, listening to Bad Moon Rising, right? Listening to that, Sean. There's layers of cool guitar going on there, like layers of it, and I can hear, like, there's some of the kind of the more sort of distant layered rhythm tracks in the back that are beautiful. Like, they're very harmonic and very kind of almost remind me a little bit of the kind of that Thin Lizzy style. It's that kind of those lovely open chords that are in the back, but they really
you know,
get it out.
The way I look at it is like a distorted power chord is a distorted power chord, and you can have 150 million different variations of it, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
So with all of the covers that we've done and with the originals as well, I deliberately try and actually write parts that aren't in the song.
Yeah.
But that become identifiable little hooks on their own.
Yeah.
Aside from obviously the vocal, you know.
Important.
The other important thing is that I don't want to put something in that's going to take away from the vocal.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a balancing act, you know. Okay, I want this to be heard, but I don't want it to cross over the vocal line.
Yeah.
So I try and put the parts in the gaps.
And you're good at it. You're damn good at it, John. Because I could hear it, me and myself, even because I love production and stuff like that, and I listen to all the stuff, and then I go back and again, and then I start to pick out, you know, the stuff in the background, and it's lovely. It's lovely what fills up the song, and it makes it quite huge. I wanted to ask Lisa as well, the drums on Bad Moon Rising. What was your setup for that?
Oh, that's actually just a program track.
Cool.
We're waiting for Sean to get here so that I could actually start, you know, playing, because I have to actually plug into Pro Tools on his system. So, like, our originals will have me drumming finally. So I've had a lot of people ask about that. So that's
from one drummer to another, Lisa, I have huge respect. By the way, huge respect. I love talking to drummers on this show because we're often kind of overlooked a lot. You know, what we do a lot of the time. And programming drums, in my opinion, is just as difficult as playing them, because you really have to think ahead of what you're. You still have to get the vibe and the sound and everything right. I love the chunky drum sound on Bad Moon Rising because it works with the guitars, and it gives it that.
You know, we didn't want to take away with like a bunch of combos and cymbal crashes, and that's hard too to say. Okay, we can't do that. You know, we shouldn't do that. We just kind of wanted that drone.
That's all you need.
Type thing.
That's all you need. That march. Yeah, it's lovely. There's a really edgy, heavy sound going on there. Yet it doesn't come across as like metal, but it there's that gritty, heavy sound. But it's cool the way you've managed to produce it in such a way that it's still very center stage. That, like, I can imagine anybody listening to it.
One of the things about the drums on Bad Moon, although it's just a simple pattern, is that both myself and Lisa particularly like the kind of the John Bonham style of drumming, as we call it.
Okay. Yeah.
Where you've got this, you know, big drum kit sound, and that's going to be a part of what we do in the future with our originals. That's the type of drum sound that would be going for.
Right.
Yeah.
So in Bad Moon, like, there's all sorts of stuff layered there to sound like one bass drum, one snare drum, hand claps, and a hi-hat. There's
Yeah.
an awful lot more there than much actually hear.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it just makes it bigger and fatter sounding. Whereas, you know, when it's played, we can go for that single big bass drum sound and a nice fat snare drum sound. And of course, there'll be fills. But with Bad Moon, because of the fact that it starts off just initially with the drum groove, I said, putting cymbal crashes and fills into this isn't going to add anything to the sound.
No.
So those little things, those little additions are kind of done by the guitar in many ways, where you would have drum fills. You've got a little guitar fill instead, you know?
Yeah. I
and
often
we have
think
to kind of give credit to Paul O'Keefe, who did the mixing and mastering, you know, who
I was going to mention that.
Sound.
Yeah. He's in Wexford. Is he in Wexford?
Yeah, he's in Wexford.
Paul's in Wexford, yes.
Yeah. I really, it's important to mention him because his mixing and mastering on it is amazing. It's what brings it all out.
He also did Sign of the Times, the Harry Styles cover we did. He did
love
that
it.
one too.
Yeah, I watched it during the week and really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I think of, right, when I think you mentioned John Bonham there, when the levee breaks, I always think of that song, right, where the beat just is the hook of, you know, it just carries the song along. And he doesn't do a whole lot outside of the rhythm.
Like,
so that's
the thing
it.
about John Bonham and his style, you won't hear him doing these. He was well capable of playing intricate fills and all the rest of it, you know. But when people think about John Bonham, they just think about this huge bass drum sound and this huge snare drum sound.
Yeah.
You know, they don't think, oh, the fill in such and such is really cool. Even though, for example, the intro to Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin is very clever. You know, like he was a very clever drummer. But most of his stuff is identifiable by the fact that it sounds like he's hitting the snare drum with a sledgehammer and hitting the bass drum with about 6 sledgehammers, you know? And that's kind of what we like. Because like myself and Lisa are both, our heart is in the blues and our heart is in classic rock. And that's why the name Boy Blue actually suits us, because there is a touch of blues in my guitar playing. And there's also a touch of what I call classic rock, as opposed to you know, it's not heavy metal, it's not hard rock. It's not, I mean, there's a name for everything nowadays. You know?
Every genre.
But I just describe it as hard rock. Classic rock, as opposed to the, you know, metal bass drums tend to be very toppy because the guy is probably playing double bass drum fills all the time. And that's not what we wanted. We want just something solid, fat, big sounding.
So with the originals coming up, that's what we're going to be expecting. Would that be fair to say? That's the sound we're going to be getting with the with the layered guitars, because I love layered guitars with that big drum sound. Like that to me is like a wonderful difference between the two. I think it really works. Speaking of which,
when we did Bad Moon, we came out with the idea of, okay, let's finally present, okay, this is what Boy Blues kind of going to be. So this is our style. The other covers we did, we just wanted to put stuff out there. We did it our way, but this is going to be the more style of our originals.
And speaking of which, Lisa, it's really important that we touch off the vocals, because I think that's something to say when it comes to, like, your vocal on Bad Moon is very, very cool, gritty.
Oh, thank you.
But just, it's as if it's just natural. There's no pressure on it. It's lovely. It reminds me of a kind of a Janis Joplin vibe. That's what I get from it myself. But there's a real just relaxed vibe to it, but yet it's big and it's wonderful. Every inch of dB that you could get out of a vocal is in there. And that's what I love about it. It captures the real low end of your voice, which a lot of, would you agree, female singers right now, we're missing that. We're missing that in female vocals. Would that be fair to say?
Well, again, it is, and that's kind of like the more I train, the more I exercise, the more my voice is leaning that way, which is perfect because that gives that blues element.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
like you said, the bluesy style, the female style of blues that we don't hear anymore. We don't hear
yeah.
like the Bonnie Raitt's and
We
that
don't.
sort of thing.
We don't.
So I'm glad that that's happening naturally, and then we also have to again give Paul credit and Sean credit for being able to focus in on the tone and bringing it out,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that it is a little unique. And that's what people say when I hear your voice, I know it's you,
yeah.
which
Yes.
was the goal.
And it is the goal, and it's a producer's job, isn't it? At the end of the day, a
Yeah.
good producer captures those levels. I think captures those frequencies. I have,
Like with regards to that, you
yeah,
know, it's a matter of like because there's been loads of vocal takes of the song,
yeah,
just as there have been loads of guitar things that I have to be as critical of myself as a producer
yeah,
as I would be of anybody else,
yeah,
So like I've put stuff down and I've just gone, no, I don't like that, and scrapped it, and you know,
yeah,
figured out a different part, and eventually I will come along something that I say, yeah, that's cool, that
mm,
suits,
yeah,
and it's the
yeah,
same with the vocal. Like myself and Lisa talk back and forth quite a lot about, you know, what we want the end result to sound like, and like she'll do a vocal, and we might listen back to it and say, it'd be better if I don't sort of hold that note too long, or if I hold that note a bit longer,
yeah,
or whatever, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
So it's good that we have, whilst we're not in the same room all the time, it's good that we're in constant contact,
yes,
because
yeah,
I can say to her, this is what the kind of, I want a bit more urgency here, or,
yeah,
and
yeah.
the communication is good in that respect. We can get across the ideas to each other.
Yeah. Well, that's important. I think that's important in any outfit like that. You gotta kind of listen as well as put the stuff out there, to each other, especially when you're remote. That's like really vital, isn't it? Because you don't have the in-person experience all the time, as you do now. Tell us a bit about the concert that's coming up, Lisa, because I'm intrigued. I want to know more about that.
Yes. So yeah, our first, it's not going to be, it can't be called a live feed because we're pre-recording it. We're
Yeah,
pre-recording it so that both coasts can watch it that day. It's being sponsored by a couple different radio stations in New York. It's being syndicated by Pipe Bomb Radio. Ricky at Pipe Bomb is actually going to produce the show. So we have Zach Mack, young Zach Mack.
you
I think
know him
he's
well on Friday. He was on Friday
13
Night
by now,
Live.
maybe.
Yeah, he was a
Yeah.
guest on Friday Night Live. We love him. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's going to be our supporting act. We've kind of adopted him as our own.
Ah, he's
So, and
super.
it's kind of a precursor to April. We plan on in Dublin having the CD release party. So
Brilliant.
this little show is kind of a precursor to that because Zach will also be opening for us for that show as well. So,
Excellent.
And he'll be playing with us.
and he's going to sit in and play with us. So him and Sean will
Wow.
be entertaining us for a little bit. That's going to be a
Fair
lot of fun.
play. Fair play.
Yeah.
He's something else, isn't he? He's something else, Zach. Like
Yeah, he is.
he's a genius. Like I came across him online there about 6 months ago, and we got him on. We did a junior Friday Night Live, and of course he had to be involved. We had to get him. He's just amazing. He's an
He is, and he's
amazing
starting
kid.
to sing now too. And he's got
Yeah,
a
I see that.
voice on
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Fair
So-
play. I'm delighted. I'm delighted you have him opening up your shows. I think that's a good thing for him. It's a great thing, and he's a big fan as well of rock music, and for his age, he blows my mind. Like the stuff that he's aware of and the stuff that he's playing and the videos he's
plays
releasing.
a lot of classic rock. He plays a lot of classic rock himself.
Yeah.
So
Where are you going to do? Where are you going to do the pre-record? Is it going to be where
it's
you're
going to be
right
here at my house in Florida.
Mm.
We have a nice little, when I say studio, this is more of a video, recording studio setup. We have hopefully a keyboard player named Joe. How do you say his last name?
Gadici.
We just learned this last night.
Joe Gadici.
He's an amazing keyboard player himself, and he's a nice vocalist as well. He's having a little bit of health issues, so we had to push the show back.
Okay.
It's going to be on the 19th now,
Brilliant.
9:30 p.m. Dublin time. It's going to start. I think
Okay.
Zach goes on at 8:45, from
Brilliant.
8:45 to 9:15 p.m. And then
Brilliant.
it'll be 9:30 again that night for the coast, East Coast here in the States.
Of course.
So that's kind of why we're pre-recording it. We'll be doing that on the 18th. But if you're on TikTok, TikTok is getting a live little exclusive preview on the day before while we were pre-recording.
Brilliant.
And we have a big sponsorship over there where we're going to have like thousands of viewers in and out of that show. So it's going to be kind of a big deal. And we're looking forward to, you know, finally being able to be in the same room and play together and, you know,
yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Back up what we've shown so far.
I'll tell you something, lads, there's been a lot of bi-coastal success stories through the pandemic. There's been a few really good cracking ones. You guys been one of them. There's been 2 or 3 other acts on the show here similar, that the success, the way the connection happens. I just think massive kudos to you two to be able to do it and to bring it together, and then Sean to make the trip and to go there. I mean, somebody has to do it. Someone has to make the trip.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Lisa will too. I know you will too, Lisa.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's just brilliant. It's tough.
We had actually planned, like the trip was planned initially for June.
Right.
And of course, America closed, and then it was opening, supposed to open again, I think August or something like that. And that got pushed back. That got pushed back to the 8th of November. And we said, hang on a second, before we go and change the airline ticket again, let's just start at the beginning of December.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that ticket was actually changed about 6 times because of
you can't plan anything.
Still a lockdown happening. We didn't know that there was a travel ban still.
It was kind of strange because when the ticket was booked initially, American Airlines who was booked through, although they weren't allowing people into America, they allowed the booking to go through. So we said, oh, it must be cool, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
They took the money.
Yeah, they'll always take the money, Sean. They'll always take the money, regardless of what's happening. Come here, before we do wrap up, I wanted to ask you, where is the best place right now? I know all this, but just for everybody watching, where's the best place to get your hands on Buy Blue material? So if I want to go tonight and watch stuff, where's the quickest way? What's the quickest way to watch? I know YouTube is a fabulous platform.
Yeah, YouTube. We have a lot of stuff on YouTube. We have interviews up there that we've done. We've got a couple of shorts that are promos that we've done. A whole bunch of stuff on YouTube.
The videos for all the songs that we've recorded.
I've watched a few.
If you want to buy the music, any streaming platform has all of our songs.
Okay.
So you just do a search for Boy Blue, but no E at the end of Blue.
Yes, that's important. BOYBLU.
Yeah.
And so we can go to iTunes, Spotify, all those places, and it'll be there.
Yes.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Lads, I'll tell you something, I'm well impressed. And Sean, I must apologize for calling you Brian again. I'm mortified. I'm mortified. Do you know, I really was. I had Brian Robertson in my head. And it was like, I was just thinking Lizzie and I had all these things in my mind. Just so you know, a lot of people back here in Ireland as well are kind of commenting away here and saying this is amazing. They're delighted to see that you're doing what you're doing and the two of you together. Lisa, you are a champion of collaboration online and you're always open to sharing stuff from other people. That's what it's all about. That's why I do this. This is why I'm sitting here doing this. I'm just a musician doing what I do. It's a bit of crack on a Friday night, but it's amazing how these things can develop into bigger things.
Yeah, we have actually the first show of the new year is going to feature Sean. We're going to pick, it's called Sean's Favorite Picks, and we're going to be playing his favorite songs. But at the same time, any musicians out there that want me to play their song, go ahead and send it to me.
I won't be playing any of my own songs.
It's very important not to shamelessly plug. Yeah, you have to be careful. Brilliant. And come here, tell us about the shows, Lisa. So musicians can send you in their stuff.
Yes. Just send it to Lisa Blue, no E, music at gmail.com. Tell me a little bit about the song, a little bit about the band or who's in the song, and then I'll play it on the show and talk about it.
Brilliant. That's
super.
And
I'm syndicated out of New York. I think that's kind of important too. Again, from Pipe Bomb and a station called Sound Machine FM. So the music will get heard over here.
Brilliant. Well, that's important to anybody watching in to note, because that's great. There's to get a direct contact like that. Lads, I wish you the very, very best with everything. I really do. I'm looking forward to hearing the original material. I'm looking forward to watching the concert that you're going to record there where you are. And when you get back, Sean, you never know, we might bump into each other at some point up around Dublin, and if they let us into a pub,
Absolutely.
we can have a pint.
I mean, you're always welcome to contact me, and we can arrange to meet.
And
Yeah.
hopefully we'll see you in April at our CD release party.
Yes. Now, tell me, where is it, and where is it happening?
It's so far we think it's going to be at the Cultural Centre. It's a little bit outside of Dublin.
It's in Clondalkin.
Clondalkin. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Colin Gavin, I don't know if you know him, another really good artist. He's kind of setting that up for us. So we're hoping that works out, pandemic permitting.
Yeah. I used to gig in Boomers in Clondalkin. Do you remember that spot, Sean?
In which?
Boomers.
Boomers. I don't remember Boomers, but
I don't know what they call it now.
A few of the places in Clondalkin.
Yeah.
One of them being a hotel. They used to have a kind of, actually, one of my treasured memories, a gig that I did with Rob Strong playing bass and of course singing, and the late great, and I mean great, Noel Bridgman playing drums, and me playing guitar, and myself and Rob, embarrassingly enough for me, shared the vocals. Like we made up a set, and they used to have this thing on a Tuesday night in a hotel. It was at the time called the Jensen Hotel.
Right.
It's just across the street, basically, from, I think they call it the Mill, where there's a shopping centre and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember.
The Jensen used to have this thing on a Tuesday night that was basically billed as a blues jam. In other words, like different bands would come along and play. But I was always there, insofar as the guy who used to run it, he had a few people that he particularly wanted there. Like, he used to pay me to go along on a Tuesday night, Yeah. And then he said to me, why don't you do a gig here yourself, And I said, well, I'll have a chat with a few people. And I spoke to Rob and I spoke to Nullig. And once I had the two of them, I said, well, I don't really need anybody else. I said, you've got the best singer in Ireland. I said, and Rob is also a fabulous bass player.
He is.
Noel is the best drummer in Ireland. And I'm the most average guitar player that there ever was in Ireland.
Never. Go away with that. That's some three-piece. That is some trio there, right there. I can tell you that. I'd pay in to see it for sure, I can tell you. Lads, it's been a pleasure, an absolute pleasure to have you on Friday Night Live together, because I know you both have huge stories, and we could easily talk for hours to you individually. But Boy Blue is what we need to tell everybody about. I can't wait. And I look forward to April. All going well, please God. I will see. Hopefully, we'll try and get up to that. And
awesome.
I look forward to it. But for now, sit back, enjoy the rest of the show, enjoy yourselves. Thank you so much for coming on and giving us your time.
Thanks for having us, Dave.
Thanks, man, Dave. God bless.
More than welcome. Take care, guys. Mind yourselves.
See you again.
Good night. So, lads, that's Boy Blue. Boy Blue. I'm mortified. Jesus Christ. There you go. And you just you're getting into something, and there I go, and I called Sean Bryan. So major apologies, but Sean O'Connor, a legend on the Irish music scene, from all things that he's done with the lookalikes and Thin Lizzy and other things. You hear the musicians he's played with and the people that he was knocking out with. A fabulous guitar player. And Lisa Blue, an absolute legend as well, with all of the stuff that she does online, on radio, musically, everything. And these two forces meet and come together and create a band called Boy Blue. And I'm telling you guys, you've got to go watch more of it. It's on YouTube. That's where I kind of find most of their stuff, and then move on to get your stuff on Spotify or iTunes or wherever. But they've got some wonderful cover versions on YouTube, and they're easily accessible. So check them out. They're amazing. I love it. I have Bad Moon Rising now. Their version is on my playlist here in the house, and I love it. Absolutely love it. I've been listening to it all week. So kudos, lads. Thanks very much for that. Anyway, we're coming back now to Tipperary. Back to Tipperary. So long story short, a couple of weeks ago, a lady got in touch with me. She reached out. I'd never heard of her, didn't know anything about her, and she just sent me a lovely message through the page and asked me if she could come on the show. So I said, well, listen, send me something and we'll have a listen and see what it's all about. So she sent me a song, and it was just absolutely mind-blowing, to be honest, and it's called Freedom in the Flowers. And it was just an audio. She sent me an audio and I listened to it, and I kind of sat back and went, wow, I need to know more. She's amazing. Her name's Kate McDonald. She's based in Carrick-on-Tour in South Tipperary. So I'm going to give you a listen to the song first, lads. You know, the video is lovely too, by the way. She only they put the video together literally this week. It's beautiful. The video is lovely as well. But the song, just listen to the song as well. It's very, very, very well sang and well played. It's beautiful. So without further ado, this is Kate McDonald with Freedom in the Flowers on Friday Night Live.
There's a freedom in the flowers, a dance we'll never know, a smile in the wind as I watch you go. Take me away through all the shades and fly with me. Only love is real. There's no reason to be without you here. Your laugh, your voice, your everything keeps me real. Take me away through all the shades and fly with me. Only love is real. There's a freedom in the flowers, a dance we'll never know, a smile in the wind as I watch you go. Take me away through all the shades and fly with me. Only love is real. Fly with me. Only love is real.
Wow, what a tune. What an absolute tune. I love that song, I must say. It just, when I heard it first, it caught me straight away. Absolutely caught me. Just, it's that kind of a song. It gets in on you really, really quickly. And then you listen to it more because I think the lyrics are important to listen to, for me anyway. And I want to ask her about that because that's what I want to kind of get. So we're going to go to South Tipperary, down to Carrick-on-Tour. Wonderful part of the country. Absolute wonderful part of the country. And talk to Kate McDonald. How are you, Kate?
Good, Dave. How are you?
I'm great. I'll tell you, I had a bit of a shaky start there tonight. Now, I ended up calling somebody by a different name, which doesn't help, especially when it's Sean O'Connor, because he's an Irish music legend. But anyway, we'll move on. How are you?
Yeah, all good.
Oh, good. That is some song. That is a beautiful, beautiful song, I have to say. Congratulations on it. It's wonderfully sang and wonderfully written. Tell us a bit about the song.
Thank you, Dave. I actually wrote the song up north in County Down,
Okay.
just over the road from where I grew up.
Yeah.
And I had the first verse for ages, and then took a few months, and just put it together, put the music to it, and recorded it with Paul Grant, Sleeve
Okay.
Rue,
Yeah.
when I moved down south. Yeah.
You're originally, from County Down. So how did you end up down in Carrick-on-Suir now? Do some people move up the road a bit, but that's a fair old spin. What happened?
It was between Donegal and Kilkenny.
Right.
And
Okay.
I just wanted to immerse myself in music more, because I was quite shy, and I was doing a few gigs up north, but
Yeah.
quite nervous. And I just wanted to start meeting new people in the music scene, and Kilkenny seemed to be the place to go.
Okay.
So
It is a great place to go. It is a great
yeah.
county for music. Did you say Donegal? You came down from Donegal?
No, I was thinking of moving to Donegal, but it was
Oh, because I thought, you know what? I was sitting there going, this is just a night for me getting things wrong. Please tell me she's not from Donegal. So you are from County Down. You are from County
yeah,
Down. So it was a choice of Donegal or Kilkenny. And
yeah.
so Kilkenny, like, did you see it as is that the main reason you kind of thought, well, this is where there's a lot of music? Was that the main reason?
Music, and there was just stuff happening all the time.
Yeah.
Loads of different events, and it just seemed like the right move, the right decision.
Kilkenny City, I've gigged in it a lot down through the years, and I always think of venues like Matt the Millers and Ryan's and all the great places there, and of course the bigger place that used to be like the Pump House and all those great venues. It always had the top, literally, shelf of music in it. Like, you could go into any pub on any given night, any night in Kilkenny, and you would get top-notch entertainment. Did you find yourself, as soon as you moved down, going straight into the city, checking out what was happening in there?
Yeah, Ryan's was one of the first pubs I went to, and I know Arthur, who runs Ryan's, and he's great. He's live bands in there every Friday and Saturday night, and really, really good quality musicians.
Yeah.
So
absolutely, always did. He always had the best of in there. I know there's a big tourism trade there as well, so that probably helps to drive the music scene there, I think, as well. Yeah. But you went to Carrick-on-Suir. Now that's a bit of a spin now from Kilkenny City. So there must have been something else. See, I'm trying to tease this out now without embarrassing anybody else in the room. But you did go a little bit further past Kilkenny. So what's so good about Carrick-on-Suir?
Met a man, Dave.
I love this is my favorite part of most interviews, because nobody wants to say these things, you see, but then when you do, it's a good crack. So you met a man, and come here, listen, it is a lovely part of the country. So, I'm sure he'll agree, obviously. I love it down there. I absolutely love that part of the country. I holiday down around there, up and down, and I always try to make another trip in there. It's a fabulous town. What's the music scene like in Carrick-on-Suir?
There's nothing happening that I know of.
Right.
I hadn't gigged from March 2020.
Right.
It was in the Brewery Lane Theatre.
Yeah.
In Carrick, and it was for International Women's Day. So I think there was 18 or 19 women up on the stage, and little did we know there was going to be a lockdown. And so I hadn't done anything for a year and a half, and then I had 2 gigs in August, one in Clonmel and one in the Strand Theatre then in Carrick, Clonmel Busking Festival.
Yeah.
So it was a bit crazy, because I did nothing for that year and a half, and then back to back Friday and Saturday night. So
yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? How it happens. Yeah. But now that you kind of look, you went away during the week, which, by the way, major kudos, by the way, to you. And you made the video for Freedom in the Flowers. You literally the other day you did it in Kilkenny. And do you want to tell us a little bit about that process? Who produced it with you?
It was the Young Irish Film Society in Kilkenny, and they were great. We met up in Kilkenny, and it was raining, and didn't know what we were going to do. I rang Butler House, the Butler Gallery.
Yeah.
They said that you couldn't come inside, but you could use the gardens. So there was just that wee hut that you see that I'm sitting in. That was the only place to go.
It works. It works, though. It's lovely. It's a really nice video, and it works with the song. But the song itself, I want to just go a little bit further in because I love it. I've been listening to it now all week, and the more I listen to it, I'm getting into the lyrics a bit more. So like, I want to know more about it, to be honest. What's behind the song? What's the song about?
It's about my
I'm putting
brother.
you on the spot now. I apologize.
You are, yeah. No pressure.
No pressure.
Yeah, my brother passed away in 2007,
Okay.
and yeah, I just got the inspiration over the road, literally 5-minute walk over
Wow.
the road from where I grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I see. I felt something was in that song. I'll be honest with you, because I'm a songwriter myself, and I just felt it in the song. I said, this is you don't write songs like this just willy-nilly. You just don't. Like, there has to be a big reason to write a song like this. So sorry for putting you on the spot, but it's
no,
lovely
okay.
to know. It's lovely to know that what's behind the lyrics and stuff, because it's very, very well written, and it's very, I could totally get that there was an ode to somebody in the song, and it's nice to know a little bit more about it. It's a really nice song, and I know you've got more stuff on the way. Tell us a little bit about, you've been bitten by the bug now with writing stuff and recording it. What's going to happen next? What are we going to get?
I have been talking about writing an album for a couple
Here we
of years
go.
now. So it's a slow process.
Yeah.
And I've got a load of songs. It can get overwhelming because you just don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And stick to one and finish it, So
Yeah.
I have a few there, and yeah, it's just knowing where to go next because it's all new, Dave.
It is new. It is, and an album is a massive, massive task. I remember doing it myself. 2010, I did my debut album I had recorded albums before that, but as a solo artist. And oh my God, when I sat down and took out all the lyrics and all the stuff, and it was all around the room, I thought, where am I even going to start? And I had to actually just stop and go and just make it like a sort of a short list on a page and put away all the lyrics and the sheets, and and kind of get some sort of form on it before I actually went near a studio. But it is fabulous when you get in there and start. Where are you thinking of going? Have you any ideas for any studios?
I don't know. I don't know yet. Yeah.
This is great. So we're on the cusp of the wave here for Kate McDonald, because you're literally thinking about this now. So this time next year, you and I could be speaking, and there could be this amazing album out, which I'm sure there will be. So I'm looking forward to that. Do you think you would like to record it in Kilkenny, or would you head further afield?
Yeah, I might stick around Kilkenny, Tipperary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are some wonderful studios. I mean, there are great studios all around the country now. I mean, you've got your choice anywhere really, that you don't have to go that far. You also have, of course, the home recording choice as well, where you could set yourself up and do a lot of your stuff at home and send it into a studio, which I think is great. A lot of people are doing that now. Have you bothered with much of that now? Would you get into the home recording, or would that interest you at all? No.
Yeah, if it was some crack trying to get that video together yesterday.
I felt bad for you, because when you text me about doing the video and you told me you were going into Kilkenny to record it, I thought, Jesus, what have I done to this girl? I should have just left her alone and not. But I am glad. I'm glad you did it, because it's wonderful. It's really cool. But yeah, the whole process, so would you envisage an album, say, in the next year, or would you like to?
I have to get the ball rolling.
Yeah. Because you've gigged, like you have gigged extensively around the southeast. Like you're not a stranger to the stage, so to you, kind of getting up and playing live is not a problem at all. So this is a natural progression, really, isn't it? To go into the studio and do this. Like,
I actually love being in the studio. The gig thing is the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine, Richie Healy, he's from Kilkenny. He was brilliant. He had organised different singer-songwriter nights in Lenihan's pub in Kilkenny. And Richie never seemed to have any nerves. And every time I rocked up to sing a few tunes, I was panic, really nervous. And he just put me at ease. And that's kind of what got me out and meeting new people and stuff. And then the nerves seem to just dissipate the more you do.
The open mic scene is very, very important. It's a crucial part, I think, of getting yourself out there originally. I know for me, like, I went all around the country really, but Dublin, there's so many of them up there as well. I found I had to do it because there's something about playing your own songs. It's very nerve-wracking, isn't it? You're waiting for you'll always wait for something sort of critical, whereas you shouldn't, but you do, because it's your own baby as such. I always call them baby songs, like they're your own babies. And you when you're playing them at home, it's lovely because there's nobody really else listening, and you don't have to worry about them. The minute you bring that onto a stage, it's not easy at all.
No, it's not.
Yeah, but I think like you're kind of how long are you performing for? When was your first time on stage?
On stage, yeah, I was never on a stage in up north. Just a few pub gigs and stuff.
Yeah.
On the stage, probably a couple of years ago.
It's like 2018-ish, kind of 2018 sort of.
2018, 2019, I supported John Spillane from Cork and Clear's pub in Kilkenny.
Yeah.
And
that must have been something now, because John is an amazing character. I've bumped into him a lot down through the years and had the pleasure of playing with him one night as well. And he's a great artist. That must have given you a good high to go and meet him and play before him, and then sit back and watch him doing his thing as well.
It did, yeah. And John makes you feel at ease too. He's good crack.
Yeah.
My guitar kept going out of tune. One of the strings kept going out of tune, and he was standing at the back. He was actually doing the sound or something. The sound engineer had to go.
Yeah.
And I could see nothing, it was just complete darkness. And John shouted up, "Do you want the length of my guitar, Kate?" And then the same thing happened to him. His guitar, one of his strings went out of tune. So I just shouted up, "Do you want the length of my guitar, John?" And it was a bit of crack,
Brilliant. Yeah.
And,
he's one of the most laid back characters I've ever met on the scene. And I've seen when I think back now, actually, I actually did sound for him twice back up in the Midlands, and anything could happen at a John Spillane gig. Anything could happen. That's what I love about him. And he could go off into Shanos kind of a thing for 10 minutes and then come back. And, I used to say to him, "Have you left the room? Are you back in the room?" That's what I used to always say. You never know what he's going to do next. Clears in Kilkenny is a fabulous venue and a great place to go and play, I have to say.
it is, yeah.
Do you still go in there? Would you still go in and out?
No, I haven't been in there in ages.
Yeah.
Probably over a year.
Yeah. Because when I think of, the pandemic now and everything, and, the lockdown scenario or whatever, which we're not really in now, thank God, as much, but did you find it useful for writing? Is this why you're thinking of an album? Did you use that time to write lyrics and get more stuff?
I did, ready? Yeah. I got myself a nice leather book, and I was nearly afraid to start writing, on the first page. I didn't know what was coming. But I had a lot more time to write and to play as well. So
yeah. Do you know what I love, Kate, right? And I bet you're going to agree with me on this. That leather book that you got, when you open that and there's nothing in it, and there's the smell of the book, the look of the book, there's something, I don't know what it is, but as a songwriter myself, it's just wonderful. I just love it when before you do anything and you're just looking at it going, what's going to happen here?
I know.
It's quite exciting, isn't it? It is exciting to do. Yeah. So is that book kind of like half full now, getting full? There's a good bit in it.
It's more like, I think there's a few pages left.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Yeah. So
with regards to a band, because on the song Freedom in the Flowers, there's a wonderful guitar solo. And I wanted to ask you, who was the guitarist on the song?
That was Paul Grant. Paul's from Sleavery in Kilkenny. And he's brilliant.
It's a super solo. It's a super piece of guitar work.
It is. He's brilliant, and it just fits. It just fits. So Paul used to play with the Clancy brothers, Liam Clancy.
Yeah.
And
What is
Yeah,
your connection there? Because I wanted to ask you about that, because I know when I was reading up on you during the week and stuff like that, and you've had a couple of sort of join ups there up and down with the Clancy
with
brothers.
with Paul Grant. Sorry.
Yeah, but through that, I was just reading here, the Clancy Brothers Music and Arts Festival in June 2019.
Okay, yeah. Linda Fahy, she's from Carrick-on-Suir, and she
Yeah.
has a wee shop there, the Tudor Artisan Hub.
Yeah.
And she's brilliant for networking and getting people together and getting gigs going. So she had asked me, I did a creative writing weekend in the
Okay.
Beryllian Theatre.
Yeah.
And then she'd asked me to sing a few tunes. So
Yeah.
that's how that all started.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's that festival. I've heard of it. Like it's from what I've heard of it, I've never been, but it's supposed to be something else. Like it's something unique, different to most festivals. Would it be safe to say it's kind of very much for songwriters? It is very much for that kind of genre where you can
Yeah.
air your wares as such and air your songs in a comfortable environment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Linda's great at she had organised the last gig there in the Strand Theatre.
Yeah.
And she was kind of wanting the musicians. There was 4 of us, but we were all doing our own thing. And
Right.
she was wanting us to do original stuff, original material instead of covers.
I love it. We need more
Great.
people. We need more people like Linda in this country. I
We
can
do.
tell you. Yeah, you
Yeah.
do. You do. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
important to push
definitely.
it. We have look. It was bad enough before this pandemic, but now more than ever, we need to push original music as hard as we can. That's really why I do this. To be honest with you, it's just important to just throw the net out and share it out, because we're kind of getting very much left out in the cold with regards to original music. Anybody who's doing it for a living and trying to, I saw a very interesting post during the week from Monday where he put up a post on Facebook about literally like, where's the next shekel coming from, more or less. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you see artists like that who have been, quite successful, starting to kind of, put it out there that, the future is bleak as such. It's hard for those acts who have built up such a following. It really is important for everybody to band together and kind of do something about that, isn't it? I think.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Big
And
time.
when I think of your friend Linda there, like, they're the people we need that actually make the effort to network and make things happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Because there's not enough Lindas.
There isn't enough Lindas. No, there isn't. And that's it. Like, but it is important. I really think it is important. The Strand Theatre is an iconic venue. I can tell you. I played in it one night with Aslan long time ago. But it has. It's one of the venues now where you go if you're doing a tour. It's on the tour. Like, it's just built itself up to something else. Do you find that you go there to see a lot of acts that come in from around the country?
That was my first time there, Dave.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. You didn't waste any time. Fair play. Well, I tell you what I am looking forward to though is the album. When you go and do it, and where you're going to go and do it and stuff. You like with Paul there on the guitar and what other musicians were on the song? Just
myself playing acoustic and Paul playing electric, and then I just did my own harmonies.
Okay, so just the two of you. Lovely. Well, I tell you one thing, he's a good guy to know for sure. He made magic on it for sure, with the guitar, and your vocals, your harmonies and everything are amazing that you've done yourself. It's not easy to do. I know I've tried it myself on numerous occasions. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's a difficult thing to do. Sarah Mclachlan, do you listen to much of her stuff, or would she be an influence?
I think I have a CD from years ago. Sarah Mclachlan CD, yeah.
It's the first thing that jumped out at me when I listened to Freedom in the Flowers, even though I know that your influences, which by the way are fairly impressive, which we need more young female vocalists to listen to, the likes of Kate Bush, Fleetwood Mac and Norah Jones. They are 3 amazing influences to have to put into a melting pot. But I just thought Sarah Mclachlan, when I heard this song, I thought, well, there must be an influence there somewhere.
No, I can't even remember.
Way off the mark on that one. This is it's one of those nights where I'm getting everything wrong tonight. I just heard it. That's what I heard anyway. Nora Jones for sure. I saw her live a couple of times. She's amazing. Just to watch and listen to. She does this kind of living room set on stage that I love, where she sets the whole stage up like her own living room. I don't know if you've ever seen her live, but she's just, oh my God.
No, I'd love to go and see her live. I love her.
Yeah, she has the whole, just the lamps and the sofa, and it's like she's in her apartment on the stage. That's the whole setup, and the piano, her and the piano and the guitar. It's just wonderful. But I will say this: I am looking forward to hearing the album. I'm looking forward to hearing what you're going to do next. Please keep in touch with the show, and thanks for getting in touch with the show. We'll share the song again tomorrow because the video, it caused you a lot of stress this week. So we're going to make sure that we share it again. We put it up on the page tomorrow, and keep in touch, won't you? And let us know what's happening next. And we'll keep you posted on what's happening here as well. I'm sure we're sure to have you again next year at some point with an album release, which would be great.
Okay, thanks a million, Dave.
You're more than welcome, Kate. Mind you can sit back now and relax, by the way. I know that was probably stressful as well, on top of everything else. And here, tell himself there while he's there, the next time I'm down in Carrigan-Shore, send me an air code, and I might drop in just for the crack, because I will be there next summer. I do like to go down that direction, all right?
Okay, no worries.
Mind yourself.
Thanks, Dave.
Bye, take care.
Bye.
Mind yourself. Bye-bye. That was Kate MacDonald in Carrigan-Shore. Brand new to the whole scene, really, even though she's been performing live for a while, but brand new to the scene, brand new to releasing her own music, and what a way to start. Freedom in the Flowers. I'm going to share the video up on Friday Night Live on the page for tomorrow. It's just amazing. I love the song, everything about it. What I'm going to do now is just go for a little bit of music, just to take a little breather. It's been one of those nights. I'm calling people by the wrong name. I'm getting the wrong influences, getting everything wrong. I don't know. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just the brain fog or something tonight. I don't know. But I hope you're enjoying the show. That's the main thing. I'm going to play something by Strings and Things, because Pauline McDermott was on to me the other day, who is their manager. And Pauline's a great character. Another person on the Irish music scene that we need more people like that. Like we spoke about the Lindas there to Kate. Pauline manages the guys. Strings and Things are based in Tipperary kind of as well, so we're keeping it Tipperary, but they've got a couple of Christmas singles coming out now. I have them as audios, but because we're going on video tonight, I don't have videos for them, but I am going to play Hurtful Souls by Strings and Things, which only came out a couple of months ago. It's a really, really nice song. Good song, by the way. Thumping song. I love these guys. They were guests on the show a couple of months ago. So let's take this away, and we're going to run a couple of tracks before we go to Poetry Corner at 11:30. So here we go.
Been up and down this dusty road. I need a place to rest my bones. Will someone come show me the way? But still I travel day by day. I lost my way so many times that I don't know what's left to find. And there have been times I've sat alone, but I just wanna get back home. Oh, the journey that I've been has taken a soul off me. I wonder if the person inside still exists. You won't listen to what I say. My mind's trying to stay the same, but though the journey changed its way, some people they still stay the same. With lying hurt the soul. lost my way time before. What's the point of caring anymore? Manipulation and the lies. So take my thoughts and leave me blind. Sometimes it's worth giving a chance. Other times it's out of your hands. Time to see who's worth to me. The efforts that I return to see. Although the journey that I've been has taken a toll on me, I wonder if the person inside still exists. You won't listen to what I say. My mind is trying to stay the same, but though the journey changed its way, some people they still stay the same, relying on her soul. Some people they still stay the same, relying on her souls. Some people they still stay the same, relying on her souls. Some people they still stay the same, relying on her souls.
Strings and Things there, based in Tipperary. Hurtful Souls. I love that song. Absolutely love that song. Just thought that was out there recently a couple of months ago. I thought I'd just play that for you. I think it's really important just to go back sometimes and listen to the music of the acts that have been on the show. And I kind of wanted to do a little bit of that because I think it's good. It's good to do. Before we go to Poetry Corner at 11:30, I want to play another song for you, which is Tommy Keys, my good friend Tommy Keys, who has got a Christmas single out. I really want you guys to hear this because I played it last week on the show as well. It's called Christmas Time With You. And I love the song. I want to play this before we go to Poetry Corner. Christmas Time With You by Tommy Keys. Beautiful, beautiful song. On Friday Night Live.
The sun is shining in the desert sky. I pour a cold one as we talk of times gone by. It's great to see you, find out how you've been. You look so well, smiling from the screen. The life I'm living is like a dream come true. But all I want to do is spend Christmas time with you. The friends I'm missing will come from near and far. Christmas Eve reunion in the local bar. Have you no homes to go to? Says the barman at the door. But you know he doesn't mean it, 'cause he never did before. The life I'm living is like a dream come true. But all I want to do is spend Christmas time with you. Christmas morning when everybody's here. You go to find religion for the first time since last year. Greet all the neighbors, how their kids have gone. Home is where the heart is, and the heart is back at home. The life I'm living is like a dream come true. But all I want to do is spend Christmas time with you. Spend Christmas time with you.
Wow. What an absolute fab Christmas single by Tommy Keys, also a former guest of the show. Tommy runs his own nights as well in Dublin, in Darkies in Dublin, open mic nights. You should check it out online. It's amazing what he does on the scene. Another person, an example of somebody who pushes original music around the country of Ireland and everywhere. But important that we listen to him as well. That is a beautiful single. I hope it does really well for you, Tommy, which I'm sure it will. So nice to have a little musical interlude there. And I've got a couple of more musical videos that I want to play tonight as well before we do finish up. But without further ado, Poetry Corner. Poetry Corner is the last segment of our show every week. It's been running now for most of this series. And curated and produced by my dear friend in America, Catrice Greer. And Catrice was the very first poet that came on to Friday Night Live, and all of this kind of spawned from there. And since then, I've been learning more and more and more every week about spoken word poetry, not just that, but authors and playwrights and all the stuff that I know very, very little about as a musician. And I love it. I love this segment because I learn something new every week. And this week, I am absolutely delighted to announce that Martina Mcgowan is going to be joining me in a moment, and we're going to be talking mainly about her book I Am the Rage, but also it's a poetry collection, I Am the Rage, but also many other things, who knows, but I love this segment, I really do. So welcome, without further ado, from Indianapolis, Martina.
Hello, David.
How are you? How are you?
How are you?
I am fine. Welcome to the southwest of Ireland,
Well,
which I'm sure you're not particularly a stranger with Ireland anyway, because you did tell me earlier on that you've been here before.
Yes, I've done a tour in the past, and one of the wonders of Zoom is that I've met lots of Irish poets, so I'll have some people to visit next time I come.
Ah, it's brilliant. Some of the stuff that goes on Zoom, the poetry stuff, is amazing. Catrice introduced me to some of it, and the other poets that were on introduced me, and I can tell you the connections that are happening and the networking that's happening in the poetic world at the minute is quite immense, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Something good has come from the pandemic.
Yeah, something good has, because I know musically too, we talk about that every week, but I in particular, like, spoken word and poetry, there is something special about that, about how collaboration happens there. I think it's brilliant.
Yes.
And especially stateside to over here, Europe and States, and then everywhere else. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I had Unmesh Mohitkar, who
Yes.
is based in India, on the show, and I'm sure you know Unmesh. And it's just wonderful to be able to speak, like, across the oceans to people about. So I love it. So anyway, enough about that.
But even within, I'm sure you found the same thing at home, but even within the States, I mean, there's
Yeah.
so many people that I would not have had the opportunity to meet, just even being on the road, doing
Yeah.
a book tour or anything along those lines. I've met
Yeah.
some really
Yeah.
fantastic
It's-
writers and musicians.
Yeah.
It's been great.
It's wonderful. It is wonderful, isn't it? Well, now I want to ask you first, because this is important, because I'm curious about all things, not just what you do, okay? Because you were a physician at one time, and
Recently
now
retired,
you
yes.
recently retired. Tell me about a little before we get into the main works. That life must have been quite busy and quite stressful and full on. Were you writing poetry and writing pieces as a physician, or was this something that kind of came after that? Were you always involved?
Well, I probably journaled most of my life, like most people.
Yeah.
off and on. But the poetry has actually only come to fruition in the last 2 or 3 years. Yes, it was busy. I also have had a family, and I've got children and grandchildren. So
Yeah.
when I wasn't working, my time was usually spent with them. So the poetry has come specifically, probably more after, even though it's been
Yeah.
floating around in the background.
Yeah. When
Mhm.
you say like when you say like, when you journal your life, which is a wonderful thing to do, uh, that's something we don't do that much here in Ireland. We tend to rather, I've heard of that, say, stateside a lot, where journalizing your events in your life is
Mhm.
common enough. Whereas here we tend to tell stories in the pub, so we tell
Yes.
each other, and
You guys are
that's
phenomenal storytellers.
yeah. And then
Wish I had some of
that yeah, and then that story grows legs, Martina, and then it
that.
becomes an absolute lie, and but it's much more entertaining. So maybe that's another way of writing poetry as well, isn't it? To kind of
Oh, it is.
blem up things, and make them magic and make them special.
Right,
And
because most poems are basically another form of storytelling. So yeah, it is.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I think it's capturing something, isn't it? So you're trying to capture an experience and put it into something that's kind of memorable.
Right.
That's to me like writing a song, is very important. But from that life to now, are you enjoying life now as as a retiree?
It's yes, is the short answer. It's different. No one
Yeah,
really prepares you for what retirement is going to be like. You think you
yeah,
know what it's going to be like, but I guess I've been fortunate because I've fallen into the writing sort of full time. So
brilliant.
I,
Yeah,
I I suddenly have another job, which I
yeah,
wasn't
yeah. It's great.
counting on. But it's good. It's good. It keeps my mind and the body occupied. Mhm.
Yeah, which is ultimately important, really
Right.
important.
Hmm.
So you're very much into it now, and like it's not just poetry, because you're a writer, an artist, and an advocate, and an activist. So all of these things I love in one sentence, because that's a lot of stuff. But it's important that we talk about bits and pieces of that as well, because as an author, did you find it difficult to kind of take on writing, getting your writings down and getting stuff published? How did you go about that? Did you do it more or less yourself at the beginning, or
Yes, with the aid of a few friends who happen to know publishers. I didn't start out writing a book.
yeah,
That has never been on any bucket list, least of all a book about poetry.
yes,
So it was fortuitous. Again, spending time with people on Zoom and a couple of writing groups that I belong to, it pushed me to write more poetry than I had been writing in the past.
yeah,
And then that developed into a sort of a volume. And a friend introduced me to a publisher,
yeah,
an acquisition
yeah,
editor, actually. And
yeah, yeah, brilliant. Connections are so important in
they are,
every
they are.
field of the arts, in my opinion. I wanted to ask you about one of the main themes, and we're going to talk about "I Am the Rage" in a minute, because that's important too. But one of the main themes, like as an advocate and an activist in the wars against social, racial, and sexual injustices. Now that's a mouthful for most people, but to me, it's like, yeah, it's a mouthful, but I want to break it down and I want to know about it. Tell me about like why it's so important to you to be active about these things.
And writing certainly is a part of that. It's important because I'm sure you've watched the news as much as
Yeah,
anybody outside the states. Now there's been a shift or maybe a revelation in our country
yeah,
in terms of racial injustice, racial equality,
yeah,
and so it's important to talk about those things. And I think part of the problem is that we haven't spent
yeah,
time talking about it and trying to unpack um, those things and trying to find some common ground to move forward with those people who are interested in moving forward. And certainly
yeah,
not everybody's interested in moving forward. In terms of sexual injustice, poor women are probably the least well served for healthcare.
yeah.
I think you guys have a different kind of healthcare system than we do, but
We do.
poor patients get poor care generally. So
Mm,
part of my life and my especially my working life was that I spent time at clinics and having patients without the adequate means be seen, so they got the same care as other patients.
yeah,
One of my pet projects was doing exams on sexually assaulted children. Apparently, many
okay,
of my peers were not interested in doing that.
yeah,
Um, but obviously another marginalized group that needs help.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and exposure, and to be spoken about, and to be,
Right,
to be not to be numbers, to be faces.
right.
Yeah, because in Ireland, like we in recent years, there's been a couple of sort of stark discoveries even down below in Tuam and Galway. I'm sure you might have seen that in the news or heard about it, of our forgotten babies that were
Yes.
discovered and things like that.
Mhm.
And it is important. We might not want to talk about these things. We might not, it mightn't be comfortable, but it has to be spoken about. It has to
Right.
be, you know. But you,
I've heard and read some brilliant poetry and writing about some of those things as well.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, it all needs to be exposed. We can't go forward if we continue to sweep
yeah,
the lies under the carpet.
yeah. And one of the, yeah, you're right. One of the things that I sense with you that's inside of, so that the subject we're talking about, with sexual injustices and that, but inside that I kind of detect there's a strong sort of passion that you want to bring out because of I Am the Rage, by the way, which we're getting to, but Black women down through the years, there is this kind of unspoken sort of possible anger and possible disdain there because of what they've had to go through. So before I get into talking about the poetry collection, like, have you, through your work as a physician, you've probably seen a lot of this that has led to where you're at right now? Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
marginalization is, in
Mhm.
fairness, marginalization is obvious when you think about it. Race, wealth, all of these things come into play straight away.
Right.
Do you think that there is a lot of anger in Black women right now in America?
Yes, I think I think there's an underlying anger. Yes, I
Yeah.
do. Um,
What do you think? What
but,
do you
but I
think is
think it's but I think it's present.
what do you think is driving that? Say, like,
But I think it's present in all marginalized groups.
yeah,
Because you never really know when you're safe in an environment.
yeah,
So
yeah, true. We're becoming very multicultural here in Ireland, and it's interesting to watch how things are playing out, because it was playing out wonderfully for a while,
mhm,
and now you start to see where these sort of trends rear their ugly heads, unfortunately, and that's what happens. And you start to see tensions and stuff because people, obviously, other ethnicities are coming in, and then they become established, and
right,
their population grows, and they start to interact with us all, and then people start to get uncomfortable. It's strange. It is a strange thing. And then, of course, the minority, if you like to call them that, or whatever you want to call them, then they become uncomfortable because, obviously, there's an anger there, or an underlying disappointment, or whatever you want to call it,
right,
because they think they're fitting in, and then all of a sudden they realize, they don't really want us here. This isn't really panning out. In America, you have got centuries of this. We're only into
yes,
probably, I would say, 20 years at most of it. It must be strange to kind of witness generations, because you now, as a mother and a grandmother, and you look at your children and grandchildren, do you sometimes look at them and go, I really, this just can't happen for them. This is just, it can't be.
Well, but I think every mother in every generation has felt that it should be better for them.
Yeah.
It should be equal. It should be equitable. Life shouldn't be so hard for them.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
shouldn't need to feel like they're outcasts
Yeah.
in their own country.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. When
And
you were
and if
growing,
they have the skills to do well, then they should be able to do that, without any second guessing because of
yeah,
what they look like or where they're from.
yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think it's the way things, unfortunately, it's what we want in the world, isn't it? But it's just not the
Yes.
case a lot of the time.
No, it's not the case.
As a child yourself, Martina, like,
Mhm.
what was America like like? So you told me earlier on, we were chatting, you're saying you're a native New Yorker. By the way, I love New York. I am an absolute huge, huge lover of that town. I love it. Did you grow up there as a child in New
Yes,
York,
I did.
or the, outskirts? What was it like at that point in America?
Well, as a child, you don't really notice a lot of
Mm.
that going on. I didn't really notice it. My parents, like many parents of my generation from the South, they were part of the Great Migration
Yeah.
to New York from South Carolina, and I didn't really notice a lot of that stuff, except for when we went to visit relatives in the South, where there were obviously signs for
Much
whites
more.
only,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
places that we couldn't go, things that we couldn't do that I took for granted at home.
Yeah.
So again, as a child, your folks kind of protect you from that. So my childhood was relatively good,
Mm.
except as we're talking about it, if I think about where we ended up living and that we lived ultimately in the ghetto, our
Yeah.
schools were not as good. So not as many of our students did as well in school or went
Yeah.
on to advanced education. So yeah, there were barriers. There have always been barriers.
Just less obvious in New York City,
Right.
but there
Mhm.
nonetheless.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing because sometimes I think, right, uh, back to my parents' generation and grandparents' generation, the Irish were quite similar, where we went everywhere, but we
Mhm.
were absolutely only welcome if we had something to give that particular country, you know.
Mhm.
And look, we're not going to get into thousands of years of history here, but there was the whole in England at one point where they used to say no blacks, no Irish, no dogs, no blacks, no Irish.
Mhm. No, I've heard it. Mhm.
And that was written everywhere, by the way. That was written openly on buildings, doorways into shops and
Mhm.
train stations. Now, when I look back at that, I kind of go, "Wow, that's kind of that's frightening to think of now in this day and age." When I look at my children, I go, "Well, I hope it never comes to that point again, or
Right.
that we've moved on at some point, or can we move on?" And when I think of then, you talk about the last couple of years where the presidential shift changed, and it
Mhm.
did make a huge difference. We all watched it here on TV in absolute astonishment and wondered what the hell when is this going to end? It was like something. It really was a bad movie for the last couple of
Right.
years. Would you agree? That would be fair to say.
Oh, I'd absolutely agree. I'm not sure that the sequel is done yet.
I hope so. I really hope so, Martina. I hope it's over because when we do look back, and I'm not just saying that. I'm not just saying this because Obama is black. I'm saying it because he was a great president. He was a
Mhm.
brilliant president and a great guy. And he came to Ireland here, and of course, just up the road from where I am here in Limerick, we have Obama Plaza, which is a big garage now on the motorway. And Moneygall, there's a little town here called Moneygall
Mhm.
in Offaly, which is not far up the road from me here, which is basically Obama. It's the town of Obama because he traced his, that's what we want in a person. That's what
Right.
we want in the president. That's what we want in general. I think that's good PR
Mhm.
as opposed to other stuff. But anyway, we won't get. I don't want to get too political, but that's how I feel. Okay,
We'll
okay.
try to stay off the soapbox.
Yeah. Sorry, I just been.
Oh, no, no, it's okay. It's
When it comes
okay.
to that kind of stuff, like because I do love watching in on the States from here and other countries. I love watching the news and stuff like that. But when a bad kind of a thing, a bad sort of a nightmarish story begins, you just wonder, when is this going to end?
Yeah. When does this train wreck end?
Yeah. But I am the rage, okay? Because this is really, really, really what I want to talk to you about as well. Is your new collection of poetry.
Yes.
Now, I am the rage to me has got such a large title that's so general, and so it could be anything. So we're going to have to home in on it here with your help because you are, of course, the queen of the ship here. So tell us a little bit about the collection.
Well, the collection was written during the beginning, a lot of it during the beginning of the lockdown, but around the time of Breonna, several of the poems specifically around the time of Breonna and George Floyd, those instances, and
Yeah,
several that came before and after. Um, it was the beginning of retirement um, and the beginning of the shift within our country in terms of thinking and doing what people were doing outright.
yeah.
And because I had the time and during the lockdown, I sat and wrote
Mm,
what was on my mind and heart and what I felt was probably on the minds of many, many others.
yeah, for sure. That's it. It was on the
And,
minds of
and
most of the
yeah,
world. Yeah,
mhm,
most of the world. It was on our minds here. We were
yeah,
watching it, watching incidences like that in absolute horror. You know,
Mm-hmm.
how could this be? It was like, to me, sometimes when I was, looking at some of the things that were going on, it was almost like going back in time. But this is like going back to kind of, Nixon, JFK kind of time, where we're going, what the hell is good?
Right.
This shouldn't be happening again. This should not be. And I spoke to Catrice about this. We had a conversation on the show one night about it. I was like, why is this happening again?
Mm-hmm.
So I think to write about it and what you've done with I Am the Rage is a good thing, because I think people need to be reminded that this really isn't good enough. It's not good enough. It shouldn't be happening.
Right. And but it still happens. I mean, obviously with social media and everyone having phones and cameras, a lot more has been shown to the outside world. But all these things have been happening all along.
Mm. How do you like? This is a big question now, but I have to ask it. How
Mm-hmm.
do you think the cycle, and do you think it can ever be broken with regards to sort of, racism and just marginalization? Like, how do you break that cycle? Do you think, sometimes I've thought this myself, to be honest, and this is a big question, and I don't expect you to solve it for me, but multiculturalism in some senses is this idea, that idea that we all have. Do you think it's like, is it possible to have multiculturalism? Is it possible to actually to have it like without absolute any hiccups along the way?
I think you're
Or
going
how,
to end
how,
up.
how do we
Yeah, I
do it?
think you're going to always have some hiccups.
Yeah,
But hiccups shouldn't devolve into terrorism.
yeah,
But I think there'll always be hiccups because it's a learning process. I think we can all get better at it, but I think it's a learning process.
yeah,
As you said, you've had more people come into Ireland, but as you get to know those people, you know and understand what the differences are. You
yeah.
know why people feel the way they do. Um, and underneath all of those little differences that we have, we're just people.
Mm. Yeah, I agree, and that's
But I think we're always, there's always going to be some hiccups, some minor misunderstanding, but
yeah,
that's up to each individual to get past that.
yeah, yeah.
That's what talking and writing is about. Mhm.
Yeah, because sometimes, I think there's two different things going on in the world, and this is my opinion. You've
Mhm.
got the people who are multicultural, and you've got everybody mixing and melting and all that. I think if you left the people alone, everybody would be fine. And then you've got up here, you've got the political realm, and you've got the people
Mhm.
who push around the pawns and make things what they are.
Mhm. Oh,
Would you agree?
I
Would you agree?
absolutely agree with you. You know,
Yeah,
yeah,
because I think,
it's
I
those
think,
with the money and power that
yeah.
keep the fire burning.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think if we were all left alone in a room, we'd be fine. If I
Mhm.
was put into a room with an Asian guy, a black guy, and a couple of Eastern Europeans,
Mhm.
me, the Irish guy, and whatever, and we were just all left there for long enough, we probably might not speak a lot for the first while, but we'd probably end up playing guitar or watching a
Yeah.
movie, and
Mhm.
we'd connect eventually, and something would be fine. Do you know that kind of
Right.
way? That's just my
Mhm.
opinion. I think it's much
Oh,
simpler than what's going on. I think
I absolutely agree. But as long as there's greed and money and power, you
it's
know,
driven. It's
the
driven by
rest
that.
of us plebes can't make much of it.
I haven't heard that word in a long time, Martina. Yeah, plebe. We call it plebs. Yeah, in Ireland we call it plebs, mere plebs, because of course
Yeah.
we're used to that. We are used to that here in Ireland because we've had, of course, the famine. We've had, outside rule,
Mhm.
colonization, and all that kind of stuff. So we're used to it, and we're used to being the underdog a lot as
Right.
Irish people. We've only really come good in the last probably 30 years. Really, we've come good as our own kind of republican nation,
Mhm.
where we're making major headway now. Like, but it's tough, isn't it? It is tough. I Am the Rage is going to be. Is it going to be toured? Are you going to tour this as a sort of a book tour, or what way are you going to promote it?
Um, yes, as the world opens up again,
Yeah,
we will do some touring.
yeah.
So yes.
Hopefully
Mhm.
around the States for now.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you think you might get back to Ireland at some point in the coming
Oh,
years?
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
once the world opens, travel
Yeah.
is high on the list.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Tell me, in Indianapolis now, as we speak, what are restrictions like now? What way is it compared to
We're
the
sort
rest
of
of it?
on semi-lockdown. Most stores, most especially large stores, have suggestion that people wear masks.
Okay.
And probably about 70% of people do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, we're something like that here as well. We're kind of it's kind of suggestive. It's not like you don't have, well, we do have to wear masks, but we don't have to sort of, not go into the pub. You can go if you want, but it's not really advisable. And of course, in Ireland, that's a bad idea, Martina, because all you have to do is open the door and everybody goes in. That's what we do.
Well, especially
Yeah,
after a year and a half of being
yeah,
stuck at home.
yeah, yeah. What have you got to do?
Yeah.
You were poetry editor for the Elevation Review magazine,
Mhm.
and published in several literary magazines and anthologies. Tell us about the Elevation Review magazine.
Um, it's an online magazine,
Yeah.
open to all poets. We're a team of about 5 people. It's been in production for about 2 years. We're a team of about 5 people who look through the poetry and try to select the best. We publish probably about 50 or so per volume.
Brilliant. So you kind of handpick poetry from submissions, and
Right.
yeah, that's cool. So
Yeah,
that's
I'm
fun.
also, like every other poet, I'm also on the other end of that submission hamster wheel.
Yeah, you're on both ends. You're
Right.
absolutely. We're just putting up the link there. Catrice, by the way, is here in the chat room, as she does every week when we're doing Poetry Corner. So that's the link there for anybody watching in for "I Am the Rage" on Amazon, which we will connect to again. By the way, Martina, on the page, we'll put up the link again tomorrow and
Mhm.
stuff like that, so everybody will know. What are your plans for future projects?
But continuing to write, for the first year and a half or so, I think I wrote almost every day. Spending a
Yeah.
lot more time doing revision as I do submissions. The goal is to get a second book out during calendar year 2022,
Okay.
and then we'll see what happens
See what
after.
happens. Yeah. You're busy too, I'd say. You're busy with the grandkids and the kids and all that as well. You've got
Right. Well,
a lot to
my
do.
kids are adults.
Yeah,
My
but still,
grandkids think they're adults.
yeah, it never stops, Martina. It never stops.
No,
Mine are still young enough, but my mother tells me it never stops.
no,
Often, even
it,
so,
it
I
does.
ring my mother regularly, and she always says to me, no matter how old you get, it never stops. You never stop worrying and
Never
thinking.
does. But that's the
So
joy of it. It never
that
stops.
is the joy of it, isn't it? That's what it's all
Mhm.
about. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you're going to do in the future. I am also looking forward to reading I Am the Rage, because I didn't get a chance to get into it this week, and I know you said to me about sending a copy. I might get you to do that if that's okay, if you've time. I'd love to
Mhm.
get into reading it as well and breaking it down. What would your advice be to, say, another country, having what's gone on in the States and what's going on? Say, for example, in Ireland here, what would your advice be to us if you were asked about our sort of modern multicultural sort of mix that's happening now? We're right at the beginnings of it. In America, we've seen pretty much everything that can go wrong and has gone wrong and shouldn't happen. We've seen it all. So, what would you say to us here in Ireland? How can we get it right?
Spend more time talking to each other. Yeah.
Yeah, good
And
advice.
we're just regular human beings underneath, exchange ideas, exchange writing, exchange art, exchange music. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's good. It's good.
collaborate. Get to know each other.
Yeah, I think that's the battle, isn't it? That is it, and that's it's quite simple, really, when you break it down.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, I'm going to think about that one as well. I go into a lot of schools myself with drum circles and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And of course, like, schools are so mixed now. It's wonderful. It's great. And I just love it, because when I go in, I find the drums very grounding, and it breaks the ice, and it's
Mhm.
easy. It's like to me, it's it's a tribal language. It's totally,
Right.
it's beyond speech, which is great. Nobody has to talk. And
Mhm.
it always brings everybody in the room together. And if I
Awesome.
had a choice and advice to give to any country or anybody, I would say buy a drum
Well,
and sit
that's
down
excellent
and,
advice as well.
yeah,
Having been
drum,
to a few drum circles myself, but
yeah,
that's excellent
drum
advice.
together. I think it's the best way, because then you don't even have to speak. You don't have to look at each other. You just feel that unity, and everything just clicks.
Right.
I've seen it with my own eyes in rooms. It's just wonderful how it works, especially with kids, because kids are kind of like sponges, aren't they? They don't
Yes.
see any wrong in anything, and it's only when we get older that we start to form opinions and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Um, For the modern day in America, when I think like, and this is something I wanted to ask you because when you spoke about social and racial issues as well, like R&B music in the States right now, and it's definitely happening here, is predominantly black. Like when I think of like Beyonce and Pharrell Williams and all or whatever, but even from a female perspective, is predominantly black. But do you think that's making any difference to the way the world is looking at races and the way we're all looking at each other? Because the
No,
music is now. No, you don't think
no,
so?
no, because
What?
I think people expect that. You know, I mean, it's sort of
Yeah,
a stereotype. You know,
yeah,
R&B has been primarily black since pretty much since the beginning of R&B.
yeah,
You know, country western. You know, if we were talking about that, you know, there are a few African American artists starting to make some strides there.
yeah.
Um, you know, and that kind of crossover, I think, might make more of a difference.
I personally would like to see black country and western artists. I think that'd be cool. I think that would definitely be cool. More of them.
Mhm.
But I do think, yeah, there's a certain standard there that's been set by the modern music world where it has been dominated very much uh, with black culture. But at the
Right,
same time, yeah, it's just something like, is it just something that we're kind of listening to, but we're not really addressing the fact that this music is great and it's coming from
right,
this society. You know what I
mhm,
mean? We're not really, yeah, addressing that fact.
right,
Uh, but yet, it's ironic in a way where I see here in Ireland anyway that a lot of young guys and girls are, and I'm talking Caucasian guys and girls here that are going around trying to dress like the peers and look like them, but yet they're are we really addressing the core of it? Do you know what I mean?
right. I know what you mean.
Beyond the clothes and the makeup and the songs and whatever, I don't know.
Right.
Do you think do you think your next book or collection will be similar vein, or would you see yourself at some point kind of going, do you know what? I'm just going to kick back and write poems about myself, just chilling out. I'm not gonna activate any more problems. I'm just gonna just do something
Right.
for
There's
myself.
no guarantee, but no, that's exactly what I have been thinking. You know, as some of it will be poetry, and some of it will probably be prose. You know,
Yeah,
and more personal
yeah,
stories. You know, because I am black, obviously there'll be probably some
yeah,
racial overtones in
yeah,
some of those vignettes. But yeah, I don't think it'll be as hard.
yeah.
Mm.
You probably take a breather on the next one and just
Right.
yeah. What do you think of, and I say this with the utmost respect, but there's a nickname that has sat here at the minute around this part of the world. What do you think of Sleepy Joe? Joe Biden.
Uh,
I just think I love him.
it's
I
gonna have
personally
to
think
be
he's great,
tough.
but yeah, is there a bit of I don't know what's happening there. I'm not sure what's going
It remains to be seen.
to happen. Yeah, still, it's going to take a while, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or,
Hopefully
yeah,
before his presidency is over.
yeah, here in Ireland now, there's kind of a running gag, Sleepy Joe. And I
Mhm.
go, well, at least he's sleepy and he's not causing any problems, which is,
As
part of
opposed
that.
to his counterpart who thinks he's still president.
Yes, yes. Well, listen, I tell you this. I am looking forward to handing you over control of the room and the mic to perform something for us, which I'm really looking forward to. What do you have in mind for this evening for us?
Um, Actually, this is the book. I am the Rage.
Yes, very, very important. Please show us that. So this is I Am the Rage. We did get the link from Catrice. I love the cover, by the way. It's very striking.
Mhm.
Very important. And Amazon the best go-to place, Martina?
Yes, Amazon is the least expensive, as it always
Yes, true.
is.
What if somebody, now I'm going to ask you an interesting one. What if somebody wants to get a hard copy signed by you from you? Is that possible?
Yes, I can give that information to Catrice. But,
Brilliant.
but
Yeah,
yes.
but it's possible. It's possible
Oh,
we could
absolutely.
personal. Yeah, that's
Mhm,
good to know.
mhm.
I personally love that myself. When I've released anything in the past, I always give that small option. Not everybody takes up on it, but some people love it.
No,
And
I think the furthest I've sent a hard copy with my signatures been to New Delhi.
wow,
So it could be
brilliant.
done.
It can be done, of course.
Mhm.
Brilliant. With regards to what we're going to hear now, tell us a little bit about what you're going to perform before we do it, please.
I'm going to actually perform the anchor poem for My and the Rage by the same name. I think it gives them the gist of what we've been talking about.
Brilliant. Well, in your own time, Martina Mcgowan, it's been a pleasure, by the way, speaking with you.
Thank you.
You're a woman of ultimate knowledge, vast knowledge, and I'm sure we could talk a lot more about it. You and I could sit down now with 2 pints of Guinness and solve the world, I'd say, in about
Sounds
three and
good.
a half, 4 hours. We might, we could probably end up getting drunk, but we would solve something. Okay? But anyway, meantime, in your own time, take the room, take the mic, and take it away, Martina
Okay,
Mcgowan.
let's get a quick drink.
Okay, in your own time.
Okay,
Yeah, ready to go.
ready to go. I am the rage. I am the rage. I am the rage whirling just beneath the surface. I am the dream deferred again. I am the promises needed and repeated but never kept. I am the air between light and dark, fueling flames that burn but can neither be consumed nor satisfy its own abiding hunger. I am the glowing embers you continue to poke and prod with meanness that bubbles over onto the streets. I am the ravenous appetite to destroy something, anything. I am the ever-present clanking chains in the belly of the cargo hold, struggling to love myself, a thing you have taught me to loathe. I am the dismal days and inky skies. I am the niggardly feeling that there is not enough, will never be enough. Money, land, freedom, education, life to satisfy us all. I am the outrage that flares every time you say something foolish like, I thought you were already free. I am the disappointment that breathes hot and silent every time I am dismissed, discharged, dishonored, cast aside, counted as worthless or meaningless. I am the melody that lies inside every Negro spiritual that sings praises of diminishing hopes in this life and a brighter, fairer world in the next. I am the mother who wields the belt that cuts both ways, that beats my children in hopes that you will spare their lives. I am the salty tears of anxious mothers, frightened each time her child crosses a threshold, praying for a return that is not guaranteed, like payment of some impossible garnishee on the lives we want for them. I am the furthest point from you, thrashing about in the sea of doom, gasping for air. I am the dark fiber that runs through our shared history that will not allow you to forget, a constant reminder to us both that I can never go home, can never find home. I am the rage, running unbridled through the streets. I am the fire this time. I am the rapacious thirst seeking justice for all on these dusky days and obsidian nights. I am the rage that lies within the powder keg of unfulfilled lives awaiting the spark. I am the rage. I am the lost sheep. I am the muted prayer that we will see each other clearly one day.
Mm. Wow, Martina, that is very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. And that's just a snippet of what's in the collection. So I have to say, I think it's going to be one hell of a read and one hell of an indulgence for anybody to get into and think about. There's a lot more in there than just words. You really have to think and visual. I got probably 20, 30 pictures in my head there as you were reading, and I could get another 200 or 300 when I read it again and again and again.
Mhm.
It's wonderful, and it's great honesty. It's great honesty, and it is what it is. You're saying it. You're saying what a lot of people really want to say.
Right.
But so thank you for that, for
Thank you.
speaking out. Important. It's important to say it. Just say it out. All these things, and something earlier on that we touched on as well. And you spoke about, sexual violence and sexual abuse amongst, especially with children. It's
Mhm.
always a subject that needs to be. I always find it very strange. Here, we've done it for centuries here, and we're still doing it here in Ireland. By the way, burying it, not
Mhm.
talking. You don't want to know about it or whatever, and all those things. And the same with like racism as well. But I think it's good to talk about them things. Just put it out there on the table.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we'll never really move forward, will we? We'll never figure it out. Unless we get it out there. and actually
Absolutely agree.
look in
Absolutely.
the mirror, look back at it, and look forward at the same time.
Mhm.
Martina Mcgowan, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time and your knowledge and your poetry and all good things. I'm looking forward to reading I Am the Rage myself now more than ever after hearing what you've just done there.
Well, thank
Wonderful. You can kick back now, Martina, relax, enjoy the rest of your day/evening because you're a little bit behind us, which is great for you. And we'll be on replay pretty much after this. So I look forward to listening back to what everybody has thought of tonight. I'm sure they've all loved it anyway. People here are loving it. It's something new for us. And if you do come to Ireland, when you do, come to Limerick, please.
Will do. Thank you very much, David. It's been great.
Thank you, Martina. Take care. Mind yourself. Take care. Bye. Bye. So wow, that to me was the most powerful interview and performance of poetry that I have had so far on Friday Night Live. Martina is a very honest person, and I didn't know her at all before this. I feel as though I do know her now a little bit better, but her honesty is what it's all about, and I think it's good. It's good to just say it, just speak about things we don't want to talk about, things that have happened, that are happening. Just get it out there. Wonderful, strong poetry and strong messages there. Check her out. We've had everything up here, the links. I'll just stick a link back up there as well for anybody that's still wondering. Just so she's on Twitter as well. Catrice is putting a few things up there, so I want to put up some social media links as well there for Martina. And yes, wonderful poem. You're right, wonderful poem. Heaven's Well, all the guys. Wonderful poem. Powerful is the word that everybody is saying right now. Yeah, powerful. That's the word. It doesn't happen too often, I can tell you that. So thank you so much, Martina. Thank you so much for that. Right, I'm going to leave you with a couple of pieces of music, even though we usually wrap it up about now. But I want to just play. I've been championing these guys for a while from Poznan in Poland, my friends who I discovered through Friday Night Live, who are, of course, Nata and Evgeny. This is Shine. I'm playing this. It's not their most recent song. I just love it. So I'm going to play it for you tonight. This is Shine by Nata and Evgeny from Poznan in Poland. Enjoy. Friday Night Live.
Greatly, highly, vastly, brightly, brightly, nobly, greatly, I tell to you, highly and face to face, vastly, your destination, brightly, take a breath. Every story shows me glory, don't do a copy. Anybody can be funny, so you can tell me. And the story might be stormy in any case for you and me. But it's back and forth so we can sometimes in dreaming. And on, I think you hear me. Make a story, don't be worried about doing the right things. Shine like the stars. In the sky. Like the sun. Sightly, shiny, lovely. Every story shows me glory done to a copy. Anybody can be funny, so you can tell me. And the story might be stormy in any case for you and me. But this may be false, or maybe sometimes in dreaming. None, I think you hear me. Make a story, don't be worried about doing the right things. Every story shows me glory, don't do a copy. Anybody can be funny, so you can tell me. And the story might be stormy in any case for you and me. But this may be possible, we can sometimes in dreaming. I think you hear me. Make a story, don't be worried about doing the right things. Like the stars shine. Hey, 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 the sky
The wonderful Nata and Evgeny from Poznan in Poland. All 7 minutes of it. I didn't get to play all of it, but wonderful band. That's called Shine. Check them out. That's my favourite song, by the way. I think we will be seeing those guys in Ireland at some point. Watch out for them. They're amazing. Absolutely amazing. Thanks everybody for joining me tonight. Hope you enjoyed Friday Night Live. To all my guests, Boy Blue, Lisa Blue and Sean O'Connor, for joining me from Gulf Breeze in Florida to tell us all about their new song, The Bad Moon Rising by Creedence Clearwater Revival. Kate MacDonald from Carrigan-Shure, brand new to Friday Night Live. Thank you so much. And her song Freedom in the Flowers, wonderful. Check it out. We'll put a link up to the video tomorrow. Also, Martina Mcgowan, in my opinion, the most powerful, honest, direct interview I've done so far on Friday Night Live. Wonderful messages. I'm going to leave you with a little shameless plug. This is, of course, my Christmas song, my own one. It's called Keep the Light. It's a single that came out last Christmas. It's out again this Christmas. Please put this on your Christmas playlist. This is my own song, Keep the Light. This is the live version I did here in this studio last year. Enjoy it, guys. Good night. God bless. Peace from Friday Night Live here in Limerick in Ireland. See you all here next week. Don't forget, New Year's Eve. There's something very special happening here. Double show. 6 p.m. we're kicking off. And next week, 6 p.m. on New Year's Eve and then 10 p.m. 2 shows. Next week as well is the last show before Christmas. We will not be broadcasting Christmas Eve. So tune in next week as well. There's a couple of special little things happening on next week. So I'm going to leave you with this. This is Keep the Light by yours truly. A shameless plug. Why not? Might as well. And thanks, Greta, for the request, by the way. Good night, lads, and God bless. See you all next week.
Someday we'll be together, but not this year. No, not this year. Someday we'll be together, but not this year. No, not this year. And there's a light in my window. There's a kind of love in my home. Keeps me strong until Christmas, until the new year will come. Someday we'll be together, but not this year. No, not this year. So keep the light in your windows, and keep the love in your hearts, and keep it strong until Christmas, when the new year will come, and the new year will come. Keep the light in your